Hey guys, it's Mel coming to you from the Upstart headquarters. We're going to try and start doing a video component to the Barely Living the Dream, the podcast, just because I know, so I have a YouTube channel and there's some stuff on it, but I've been kind of letting it, go fallow. But as of the release of this, for those of you that have seen the Game Face video, they're hosting it on my channel, so it's probably going to get a lot of traffic, and that spurred me to get to thinking, maybe I need to, put some more content on there. And I think it would be fun, since there's such a visual aspect to what we do, to maybe try to throw some, some extra stuff, some extra visual stuff in along with the podcast, because we're going to try to start doing them on a regular basis, especially now that both myself and Brittany have films in active about to be actual production. Brittany, I think, goes in June to shoot something to start, and then we're shooting in July for my thing, and then the Imago stuff is actually coming home to roost. I just want to make sure that you can't see the new poster above the. It's right there. It's right here. But I can't give it away just yet. But there's definitely some news to come on that. Speaking of the Game Face video, that's what this is. I figured I'd pull this project up. But this is the edit of the thing that is now hopefully available all over. I'm super proud of it. They're one of my favorite bands. It's my daughter's screen debut. Features my wife and a good friend of mine, Bobby, and then a lot of other people that I like. So it was a very fun project. I was stoked to do it for Jeff and the guys. Hopefully you've checked it out and enjoy it. I really do like the song as well. So by the time this comes out, it should be live. Anyway, sidetrack. Back to the new poster, which Jeff actually did, so everything's full circle. If you go back and listen to his podcast that we did with him around when I did those videos for a solo project, you'll remember that he does movie posters for a living. So he did us a solid for the new poster for the movie formerly known as Imago, which hopefully we'll be able to tell you what the new title is, because we are going to do the final mix on it in the next couple weeks. We finally got the call from our audio engineer, so that's good to go. That's pretty much the last thing we're waiting on. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some news on that soon. I'm in the pre-planning of maybe doing some sort of a cast and crew screening for that, planning around the shoot we're doing in July, because a lot of the people involved in that will be here for the shoot. So it'd be great to kill two birds with one stone. I think we're actually killing three birds with one stone, because I'm doing that reading of Fade to Black that if you listen to the podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. At any rate, hopefully there'll be more of these going up. I hope to do some, this is an idea I've had for a while, but just little sort of vignette, I don't know if you want to call them tutorials or whatever, but kind of just walkthroughs of the stuff that I do when I edit or whatever, or my best practices, which aren't necessarily the best practices, but the way I go about doing stuff. I actually did some stuff for a video that I did a few months ago, but I never put it up because the video hasn't come out yet, which we mentioned on the last podcast. But that one was interesting because it had a lot of visual effects and things like that. We're definitely going to have some cool stuff in regards to the things we had to do for the movie formerly known as Imago. That's been an interesting journey, but I really love what it's become, a decade later. But there's a lot to talk about there. But anyway, at any rate, hopefully enjoy the video component of the podcast. This is the first episode that we're putting up like that. The video will go up today. Subscribe if you dig it, and more will be going up soon. This video does cut off before the very end of the podcast, just because I hadn't dumped all my cards yet, so these filled up. Rookie mistake, I know, but it's been a busy weekend. If you want to hear the entirety of the podcast, that will go up on all the usual places on Monday. So, subscribe there, rate, review, all the usual stuff. This podcast, it's myself, my assistant Katelynn, and Brittany, and we just kind of rehash some stuff. I just came back from Texas Frightmare Weekend, hanging out with Lisa. Brittany's been doing some work on her documentary, so we kind of just hit all those moments. And of course, I have things that are screwed up in my head. So I talk a lot about that and get it out there and make myself feel better. But yeah, more of this to come. Bear with the rough nature of the first video podcast. We're just I basically put the camera on a lazy Susan and we're spinning it around, that 70s show style. Just because on top of everything else, I don't have time to really do cuts together, multiple cameras. I don't have a switcher here yet, so it'll evolve as time moves, as time goes on, and as I continue to teach Katelynn how to use Premiere. Maybe she can start cutting some of these together. At any rate, hope you enjoy it, and see you next time. All right, everybody, welcome to 2 timely podcasts in a row. Can you believe it? Welcome to another edition of Barely Living the Dream. It's me again, Mel House. Joining me once again are Brittany Miles.
Hello.
And Katelynn Bauer, or Assistant Katelynn, as you sign all your emails. It sounds like you're the, there is a president, like a Katelynn that is a president, and you're the Assistant Katelynn. At some point, you'll be promoted to full-fledged Katelynn.
That's her other side.
Oh yeah. We've got video now. So look, these are that Brittany.
Yes, me.
And Katelynn. Back to me. At some point, I'll motorize or put a remote on that and make it go faster. You know what? I was also thinking we could hang it from the ceiling on a rope.
That would be
and
cool.
Just swing it back and forth.
That'd be seasick.
Yeah.
I think.
So I guess it feels like a lot has happened since we've recorded. Like a lot of non-tangible things. Like I feel like I'm like rushing headlong into making this movie now, which I've sounded, I know the last time I talked about it, I was bound and determined to do it, but now it's like become real. Like I have Katelynn looking at flights and, about to start booking them for people and getting people's schedules and all that. We're trying to move forward. Well, you were already moving forward on your documentary, Brittany, but we're like taking real steps on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different when, papers start getting printed and all that, so.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, when paperwork starts happening. So, this is your reaction shot. The only thing really, other than that, what got weird? Does the sound weird to you guys?
No.
No? Okay, I'll
so.
trust you. I think I know what happened. I've got this janky headphone thing over here. The only, I guess, additional thing that happened was Melanie and I went to Texas Frightmare Weekend over the weekend.
Nice. How was that?
Mixed feelings. That's why I wanted to record a podcast, because I was like, I need to get some stuff out in the open. I mean, it's nothing big. It's all shit that's in my head, of course, like most everything is I talk about on this podcast, but it was weird. Like, it was fun. We had fun. We got to hang out with Lisa a lot, which was really the main reason I was going. Get to see Robert a little bit and Lance a little bit, but it was so busy for everybody that there was no real. We could barely hang out with Lisa, really. Just because all the Nightmare people were there, and whenever it's a show like that, like the line at her table is constant.
Yeah.
Like there's no jumping in. So like I could bring her food or whatever. We had dinner with her, and then maybe talk to her for maybe 5 minutes the next day, and that was it. So that was okay, but then everything else was like, I realized pretty quickly how, I feel like I've had like a horror lobotomy in some weird ways. Like a lot of the love for that stuff, or not really that stuff, more like the culture has been kind of burned out of me, because I've become so jaded or raw to a lot of it that I'm just like, I don't really care. Like I didn't want to go sit into panels, I didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Really, I was just, after talking to Lisa, really we were just there to hang out with our friend, honestly. And then once that was done, would have been fun to just kind of walk around and browse, but it was so busy, even on Friday, so packed, like even worse than that year you were there, that wasn't even fun, because it was like, bottlenecked, and the way they had the lines, and as many people were in lines, like the lines were in the same room, so that would kind of bring
bring the space down even more.
Oh, yeah.
It was just tough to get in. And I'm not talking shit about the show, Lloyd, if you hear this. I'm happy for him, but it just really, like, there was nothing left for me to do. I was like, oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
So, and then the usual stuff, like people getting accolades for bullshit. Or,
yeah.
You know, there were weird, I don't want to call anybody out because there's stuff that may evolve in a good way from this, but I just got weird vibes from people that on actually one person that I've, from the beginning, pre-Closet Space, that I've known acted like I didn't even exist. You know, didn't even say hi, no head nod or anything. Kind of weird. And then when there was another person I was talking to, and the people with them kind of were like, who the fuck is this guy? And it was just a weird kind of, like, he's not worthy to be talking to us. You know what I mean? He's one of the unwashed. Why isn't he on this side of the table kind of deal?
Yeah.
And it was kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
You know? Because obviously that dude was cool with me, and we were talking about real stuff, you know, but now I feel like I can't talk about what we talked about because it's going to out that situation. But it was just a bummer all around, because it's not an ego thing. Like, I don't want anybody to come up and go, oh, Mr. House, oh my God, you're a genius or whatever. But like, the way that stuff makes me feel, it's like all the work was for nothing. You know what I mean? Like because they're, you know, bowing at the feet of people that have done less. You know, but I'm like, I made fucking 5 movies, you know,
right.
like that got out there, you know, that people do like.
Right.
The flip side, weird flip side of that is that probably 10 or so people approached me and were, as fans, you know, like wanted pictures and shit, which is always weird. Because my initial reaction is, oh, this is a friend of mine that I kind of forgot, or, you know, because that happens a lot. But then it becomes clear that they're a fan of the movies. And they're like, oh, shit. And they're like, hey, man, you sell anything? You have a table? I'm like, no, I'm just walking around as a nerd just like you today, you know. So I get those reactions. They're scattered. But, I mean, obviously that shit that I made means something to somebody.
Right.
You know, but then it's not enough for, like, the fucking gatekeepers that are on the watch right now. So
that's always frustrating, though, because I don't know, I guess I've had that question, is there a time that you eventually will, like, not you personally, but just universal you, as you kind of get past that whole, like, political realm of, you know, accolades that are given out, things like that, and it seems like it always just sort of digs at any person who actually produced something that was really good and that just wasn't recognized. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just an interesting thought. Like, that's one of those things that you just don't get over. So, I can imagine it's just hard to continuously see that over and over. Right. And
it's like, it makes it harder when oh, hey guys. Sorry. It makes it so much harder when we're trying to make something and it's just such a struggle. You know, it's like we have to move mountains to get shit going. And then on top of that, the stuff that you made, people don't care about. But those people can easily just, you know, snap their fingers and get something made, or get, you know, $500,000 to go fuck off and waste half of it. And, you know, it's just everything together makes it real tough. Any of that stuff by itself would be hard enough, but when it sort of starts to layer like that, it's like, I always think about the Tim Burton Batman, you know, how they figure the Smilex kills people. Like, he's poisoned all the cosmetic products, but it's not just lipstick. It's like when you use lipstick with blush, with concealer, then that's when it kills you, you know? It's the deadly combination. But yeah, it's the whole time. I was kind of like, oh, this is fun, because we were having fun. It was nice just to do something and not have to worry about money, really. Thank goodness that aspect was in there, because probably I'd throw myself out of the hotel, because there was a year that we went and it was kind of like that, and I was broke. I think it was when I was working at the pizza place, so like Melanie had to pay for it. It was just stressful, you know what I mean? But we were like trying to force ourselves to do something, and it was brutal. But, you know, this year we didn't have to worry about that. But So we could still enjoy it to a degree. But very quickly, I think it was Saturday afternoon, Melanie was like, "Hey, I'm ready to go whenever you are. I'm pretty much over." And I was like, "You know what? That sounds pretty good."
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking if you were still meeting up with the guy you were going to edit with, because we were coming home. But it enabled me to sit here and work on stuff for the play stuff that we shot and catch up. We got home, so it actually turned out to be kind of a perfect weekend, except for all the weird mental bullshit, that I was dealing with all the way home, and it was sort of eating at me, that I'm still dealing with. But, what can I do about that other than just keep forging forward and try to make my own stuff, which fortunately is not horror, so I don't have to worry about dealing with those people if I don't want to. Unfortunately, almost said it. Unfortunately, the movie formerly known as Imago. I'm getting cocky because I think we might have closed the deal at this show. So I feel like I can almost say it. But that process stresses me out because I feel like we're going to have to do those laps again, where we go to a show and, it falls on deaf ears while some fucking stupid movie over here is, people are falling over themselves to watch. I don't know. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Brittany and Katelynn. It's a roller coaster.
I know.
So what do you think, Katelynn? I'm gonna turn the camera towards you.
Hi.
Give us your hopefully sunny disposition outlook on all this. Make me feel better about myself. That's what I'm really asking.
Well, from an actress's viewpoint, I'm always going out and auditioning and not getting parts, and like you were saying earlier, sometimes I feel like the people that got the leads aren't as strong, and I have to deal with that. But I think that everything happens for a reason, and just because you don't get something off the ground or you're not getting enough recognition as you deserve doesn't mean you won't ever. And I think because you actually work hard on the stuff you do and you care about it, and you respect it, you respect the people you work with, you're gonna go farther than the people that just bullshit around and are like, hey, we have money, let's just make things, and then people are like, cool. But I think your stuff actually means something, if that makes sense. And it's good. Like, I've read your scripts. I'm not trying to kiss your butt, but I think it's actually good. And you do really care about everything. You put everything into your work, and I see it. I see you stressing out about it.
Constantly.
So I think in the long run, you're gonna be just fine.
I hope so, because time's running out.
You're not
TikTok.
that old.
I'm not, but like I had that scare in Las Vegas. You know what I mean? Like, you just never know. Fucking John Singleton just died at 51, probably for the same reasons, and he was making big movies. He's got the black man, high blood pressure, high stress curse. That I have. So, yeah, I mean, but then like on the flip side, I think about how. I think I may have brought this up a lot because it makes me feel better. But like Wes Craven, I think was 44, 45 when he did Nightmare on Elm Street. So still got time.
Yeah,
I could have.
It's not. It's not a. There's a saying, and I can't think of it.
It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, something like that.
It's everyone finishes their journey in their own time. So, like, there's a thing on Facebook, like, Tina Fey didn't become Tina Fey until she was, like, I don't know, 36.
Right. Sam Jackson, same. Like, he was older than I am now before he even, I think, did those trauma movies. So, but yeah, I just, it's frustrating because I feel like half of that time, if not more, I've put into that and feel like doesn't count for anything, like I said. So I'm like, what about those years? You know what I mean?
But like you said, there are people out there that care about your stuff and really like it. So
and that does make me feel like I wish you'd put the picture up already because I was going to make it the thumbnail for this. He might by the time I put this up, but there was a guy his name's Scott Hall. He listens to podcasts, but he's been a very supportive fan since Closet Space. Hi, Scott. You rule. And I was pretty much when we were moving from the post-Harvey storage unit into the new one, I was going through everything and realized I still had a bunch of the prosthetic pieces from Walking Distance, aka Psychic Experiment, and I I had enough. They're like kind of flat pieces, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to like do a piece of this, but I don't have any place to put it up in my place. And the weird thing is, I don't know if I want to look at that all the time, just because it just reminds me of all this shit that I was just bitching about, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At some point down the road, maybe, but when I see that poster, even all I can think about is the bad stuff and the fights and the struggles and the friendships that are no longer and things like that. And it's like, that's the hole that's been dug, but there's no like positive that I can think of to fill the hole back up. You know, like, except for probably a bunch of DVDs in the back of a Walmart somewhere that didn't sell, you know what I mean? So, and whether that's true or not, that's what I see when I see that stuff. So I was like, you know what? It'd be cool to give this again. He's like a collector guy. Like, he's got, you know, like a Godzilla room, and his desk at work is just covered with monster, you know, like toys and stuff.
Nice.
So I just knew that he'd be the type of person to appreciate something like this. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, it'd be cool if I put something together and like made a shadow box kind of deal and gave it to him. Because just like I said, he's been supportive. Every time we've done a Kickstarter or whatever, even though they've never worked out, he's always been the first guy to throw in or repost something or, you know, just support, get on board. And in the past, I've done like big pieces like that, because when we did Closet Space, I actually auctioned off some of the pieces for the West Memphis 3 to benefit their trial. So like I had, that's kind of like, it plugs into this arty maker side of me, so I enjoy doing it. It's kind of zen for me. And then at the end, I can get the crap out of my house. So I'm like, then that serves a purpose too. Like, I can sort of like wash my hands of it. So anyway, I put this thing together for Scott and brought it to him. I actually saved the boxes from these posters that got made for us, because it was that big, you know. And I got one of those big Jersey shadow boxes, and I printed out the Psychic Experiment poster, or I had a printout of it that I think Domingo did. And then I have I still have a bunch of Walking Distance posters. Again, like just all the crap I have that I've accumulated that I'm doing nothing with.
Yeah.
So you know what? I have a picture of it. Rather than, because I think you'll probably put up a picture by the time rather than try to describe it, I'll show you. But so I'm going to show you know what? I'll edit it into the video, because that'll probably look better. But that's what I did with it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you see how it's the Walking Distance posters are torn to reveal the Psychic Experiment poster. Because I like the Walking Distance poster better, really so cool. I only slightly revealed the other one, the Lionsgate poster.
Ooh, that's creepy.
No, that's really cool.
And then the pieces are all, it's got the screen caps of when they wore the pieces in the movie.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So we gave that to him the first day, and just the look on his face, he was like, "Oh my god!" And it was all boxed up, and I had Gorilla taped it close so it wouldn't fly open. I was like, "Okay, so do you want it to be a surprise, or do you want me to show you a picture of what it looks like?" And he's like, "Just show me now. I can't wait. I'm gonna open." You know. So I showed him, and he was like, "Oh man!" Like, you can just see his face lit up. You know.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Okay, that's worth it," because it didn't cost me much. It's stuff that was just sitting in storage anyway, you know. But he was super stoked about it, and he genuinely likes the movie too. So I was like, "Yeah, here, you take it. This is bringing you more joy than it would me right now." So occasionally there are glimpses, like glimmers of hope, I guess. But I spent most of the weekend stress eating, if that's what you really want to know.
Yeah. Well.
Or avoiding stress eating. Because I really had to talk myself out of going to In-N-Out, I think Friday night. Like I could see it from where we were, and I was like, "Oh,
it's that willpower."
Yeah, and I was like, "This is a slippery slope."
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so. But yeah, that was my weekend.
Wow. That's pretty stressful, yeah. I was kind of wondering, because you seemed like you were, not... Like, you were really excited to go, and then when you texted me, I got that vibe that you were like, eh.
Yeah, I just had to, and the thing was, Melanie knew what was up, but I had to, let the steam out, because I didn't want to harsh her buzz either, because she was into it. She did... I've been to probably 5 of those that she hasn't been able to go to because of Reagan. Things changed after the baby, of course. And so she was really, because she's not jaded to it or whatever. So
I was about to say, do you think because of how many times you've gone that plays a huge part, I guess, in, I don't know, like, I guess my question is do you think you're gonna maybe not go in the next couple of years just to kind of refresh?
Well, Melanie asked me a similar question, and my answer was, if I'm going, they're going to be paying me to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or, like, at least get a room or whatever. And that's not Frightmare specific. I'm not talking about that. But just for me to put that out there, put that much energy out there, it needs to be worth it.
Yeah.
I've already done, I feel like the band that's been touring in a van for 10 years or whatever, and now I'm like, you know what, you're going to fly me out to do a show, we're going to rent gear there, you're going to put me in a nice hotel, I'm not sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
And then, I feel like to a certain degree I've earned it, and also I'm getting old. That's not fun. I don't have the energy to do that stuff.
Yeah.
To a degree. So, yeah, I'm not cutting it completely out of my life, but I definitely am going to...
It needs to be a bigger reason.
Yeah, it needs to be a bigger reason. I'm not just going to go as a fan. I think that part of me is kind of, I wouldn't say dead, but definitely sleeping for a while.
Gotcha.
We're really at home. Like, I don't really watch horror movies anymore. I haven't in a long time. Minus, obviously, nightmare stuff that I love. Mm-hmm. I'll pop out occasionally, but that's even lessened to a great degree. It's just like YouTube stuff that's informative, like documentary type, or Adam Savage building shit, stuff that I don't have any skin in the game. There's no weird subtext to it. I'm not going to see a name in the credits. It's going to piss me off.
Yeah.
Because even, I was fucking watching the Netflix Voltron, and there's some asshole in the credits that wrote it that's part of the Chicago, the witchcraft guys. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fuck, are you kidding me? Right? I tried to choose the one thing that was so far afield, and I'm like, nope, that fucking dude. So it'll ruin the whole thing for me,
Yeah.
The only thing that plague hasn't really touched is Marvel stuff. One, because a couple of people I know that work on them have hooked us up. But there are a couple of sort of asshole connections to a couple of movies. But they're so good, and I love that stuff so much from childhood that it kind of overrides.
Yeah. Look past it.
But I mean, if things keep continuing on the track, I'm sure I'll get to a point where I'm like, no, I can't. If they throw a Thor movie to some idiot, and I could see it happening, you know what I mean? It's not that far beyond reason, to see how some of these things go.
Yeah.
And that'll be a bum. That'll be a real bummer, but who knows? Well, I can't do anything about it. I just hope he wastes a lot of their money. But Saturday, right? What was funny is that Saturday morning, we were in a Lyft on the way there because I was like, I'm not even gonna. We drove, but I'm not. It's gonna be so busy. I'm not even gonna deal with parking because that airport, it just gets all screwed up, and you have to wait in line forever to get a garage. So I was willing to drop the money on a Lyft. So we're just sitting in the Lyft on the way, waiting, and like Greg, I think the last time we mentioned Imago, I mentioned that we were waiting on the sound mix, and that Greg was busy because it was pilot season. Well, I hadn't heard from him. Katelynn called him for me. One of your jobs as my assistant is to call people I don't want to call.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Make sure this is working. Anyway, called Greg. Hadn't heard from him. I figured that would happen because he's busy. Pilot season just ended. But he called me back and immediately he was just like, hey, I'm done. I'm going to start mixing this week. I'll be done in a week or two. When can you come out? So I was like, oh shit. That was like the last thing. So it's like go time. So that lifted my spirits. And then meanwhile, all of this movie stuff has kind of fallen into place, which obviously the movie, I'm looking forward to shooting that, but I'm also trying to do the screening then. But the big thing I was waiting on is whether or not the movie would be done. Now it seems like it is, so it's all going to work out. And then while I was at Frightmare, my other sort of thing to do was, in addition to hanging out with Lisa, was to talk to someone specifically that I intended to send the movie to first. And that person, it was the best possible interaction that I could have asked for.
Nice.
So, so that all went well, and I have no doubts that it'll find a home, after we get it done. So, like, all that was positive stuff that I was pulling away from the show, and it was definitely balancing out like the bad vibes I was feeling.
Yeah.
But it was, I'm glad that all that happened, but still it's still pretty quickly after I got on the floor that day. The clouds started coming down. I'm like, oh, fuck, it just became like crumbly again. But we ran into, it's odd because Greg called me. I had talked to the distributor. We saw Parrish Friday night. Obviously, we saw Lisa. And then probably right after we walked, about an hour after we walked in on Saturday, we walked out because we were looking for Lisa because she'd gone out to smoke. And Melanie goes, oh, I don't see Lisa, but there's Natalie. And so we ran to Natalie, so it was like Imago reunion kind of, just rolling deep. And so, it was like a weird sign. If I believed in anything like that, I would count it as a sign that things were going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was like, man, is Omar just going to come around the corner, So, it wasn't the best weekend, but it wasn't the worst weekend either. Like, I can't lie and say I was miserable the whole time. There were definitely some cool things that happened, and the main things I was doing, we accomplished pretty quickly. So I had no problem with leaving early that first night or the second night.
Yeah.
And eating the hotel. There was a time when I would be like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm just wasting money, but it was worth it to me to get out of that situation and get back home and do other productive things. So.
Yeah. I feel like that's a page turned, right? Like,
I should hope so.
Yeah.
Or maybe burned.
Well, yeah. Either way. But just, I feel like for me, mentally, when I realized that, like, my best productivity is doing something else that maybe even I thought I wanted to do, it's just kind of nice to have that realization. So,
yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And Katelynn, that is why I've been kind of gung-ho about throwing a lot of this movie pre-production stuff at you, because that's how I'm keeping myself sane.
It's okay.
And also, I want to, because we're trying to do it in such a condensed period of time and only have specific days where we can do it, I want to make sure it's all going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to lock these people in. So we'll see how it goes.
It'll be fine.
I hope so. I hope so. The thing is, like, I feel, as far as that stuff's going, there are small road bumps or whatever, just working out schedules, but it's going so easily so far.
So you think there's something wrong?
Yeah, I'm like, when is the other shoe going to drop?
Yeah.
And everybody's being so willing to do it, and work with me. I mean, obviously, I'm bringing people in that we figured that would be the case. That's why I'm bringing them in, but just getting that buy-in from people that I think have no reason to really do it necessarily.
Yeah.
Loyalty is one thing, but they could easily take other jobs that pay more, if they're capable or whatever. But that means a lot. And then there are people that, I don't want to say who, but there are people that easily can make a lot of money that when I asked, I was like, okay, well, what can we do to make this worth it for you, so that you, and they're like, nothing, don't pay me 1 red cent. And I was like, really? They're like, dude, are you kidding me? So that's nice to hear. So I guess it is all worth something.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe that's the exchange for putting up with all the BS that happens. It's something, this weekend, the exchange is that when you are doing something that you really want to do, there's a sense of ease to it, because everybody, who's worth their weight know that you're worth your weight, and so they're willing to work with you.
Yeah.
And it's okay to let yourself enjoy that and be happy.
Yeah, I try, but it's...
I know.
There are times. The only times that I can sort of get out of my head and have moments of, I wouldn't say euphoria, but just like genuine happiness.
Yeah.
Or it's like when I'm with Reagan and we're just doing something that's just like kid stuff. It doesn't matter. When I'm playing guitar, but I've been doing it for a while, like I've have to sit there for a while and like kind of just forget. And
then out.
Yeah. And then when I'm boxing, when I'm hitting things, which totally makes sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I need to try to enjoy things more often. But when I let my guard down and try to do it, like this weekend, I feel like there's always something that's...
I think there's always going to be something.
Yeah, there's always something, yeah.
I've been learning very recently to just kind of not let stress bother me. Because I stress out a lot out a lot too about like my career and wanting to progress like you and
mm-hmm.
but in the acting sense, and am I doing enough? Am I ever going to do enough?
Yeah.
Where's my next paycheck gonna, not right now, but like money problems for the future, and I'm like, I just have to not let it bother me, because it's whatever is gonna happen anyway, and I don't need to take off years of my life worrying.
Yeah.
And I'm learning to enjoy the little moments in between everything, and just like, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I have friends who care about me, I can enjoy picking up a comic book and reading Batman whenever I want to, and things like that, and that's helping a lot. Just taking time out to do things I enjoy too.
Yeah. I'll try.
I take a little different tactic. Mine, I call my office space tactic, where I get just super stressed and I really try to get something done, and I'm just overly stressed to a breaking point where I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And then somehow it all gets done.
Yeah. I did that too, but it didn't work for me.
No, it usually works pretty well for me, but I have to get to that breaking point of just like, you know what? Just F everybody, I'm not doing this. And then I'll sit down and then just miraculously get everything done.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a dangerous line to walk through. Because I've done that too, but it went too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes anger and spite are pretty good. I say sometimes. For me, it's like all the time. But that's because I'm like, man, if I were to be genuinely happy and things were okay, like, where would I get the inspiration for the art from? Because I know that's where
from wanting to do it.
Yeah, I think that would be the movie equivalent of those later Red Hot Chili Peppers albums.
I was like, everybody would then be questioning your projects. Like,
you're right.
Okay, but where's the turn?
Right.
What's happening?
Okay. Right. So, I don't know. Maybe at that point I start doing children's movies or whatever. Like I take the Jon Favreau career path.
Yeah, there you go.
You could.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's another thing that keeps catching me when I try to sort of like unplug and enjoy. For those of you watching at home, you're gonna have to get used to our.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with my hand when I'm on camera.
That's totally fine. You're gonna have to get used to our, let's say, inventive camera technique here.
I think your camera just died.
Did it?
I think so. It was beeping.
Oh, that was perfect timing. Here, let me pause it real quick so we can keep getting it.
That's great.
Like, I guess.
Where'd you get it?
Gas station.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're back. We're talking about Batman and coffee. This podcast brought to you by Batman and Coffee.
Not sponsored.
Yeah. So, what I was complaining about, one of the things I was complaining about, another thing I've noticed happening, it's probably been happening forever. Again, it's probably just me, but when I try to, let's see, how can I put this? I get to a point where I'm okay and not annoyed and trying to just enjoy the moment, and then someone comes along and does or says something just super narcissistic and ignorant of like the situation that I just explained to them and makes it about them and not about me, which I guess is narcissistic on my part. But and I should know better because I surround myself with actors and artists, so they're all going to be that way anyway. But so let me give you an example. So it's like I was already feeling this stuff this weekend and kind of like bummed out, but I had a mental talk with myself. I took a little walk around the hotel, drank a Coke, an actual Coke, not a Coke Zero. So I gave myself a little treat, and was like, it's fine, it's all bullshit, doesn't matter anyway, you know. And I was like, I was okay, I was good to go. And then I think soon after that, Melanie was like, hey man, we can leave, I'm pretty much done whenever we can get out of here. And I was like, okay, well I'm okay with that, you know, like I started to kind of get excited about that because we could like kind of get part of our weekend back too, you know, and I could get some stuff done. And we started kind of, the people that we would see, because it was so crowded and crazy, were like, hey, just to let you know, we'll say bye now because we may be getting out of here shortly. You know, and a couple of them got taken up. They're like, wait, we thought you're not going to hang out with us some more? You know, we thought you guys, we never see you guys. Why can't you hang out with? And I was like, you don't. But you can't. Again, it's like where I could wish I could just sort of touch somebody and give them all my pathos. I'm like, you don't understand. Like, go through the thought process. Like, us coming here, like, it's a big undertaking to come here and actually be here at all. So obviously for me to not want to be here, there's probably something going on. These people know me well enough to know most of this stuff. So I'm like, you know, have a little empathy, you know, because I know they could I feel like they could probably read it on me, like why I didn't want to be there. But it's like, it became like this weird guilt trip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Like,
yeah, it's probably just because it's so out of the norm for people to come to an event like that and then just, you know, leave early, right? Yeah. Because most people go and then they're upset when it, you know, it ends because they feel like they didn't get to see this person or they get to do that. So it's probably just a completely different mentality for someone to leave early. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you know, and they're so caught up in the event that I'm sure it just didn't even run through their head.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm telling them now, if they listen to this podcast.
Don't question Mel.
Right. Well, I should know that already. But I'm like, it's because I'm having a hard time dealing with this stuff. It has nothing to do with you. But the Frightmare example is a good one because it just happened. But it's happening with the movie, too. You know, like people bug me incessantly about wanting to do something, wanting to be in something. Like, let's do something again. I can't wait to come out there and be in a movie that you direct again. Okay, I figured out how to do it for like 4 days in July with money out of my pocket. I'm moving mountains to make this happen. I can't do it on a Tuesday. Is that the only day? You know what I mean? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me, man? Yeah. You know? So, and this is not just one person. A few people have done this to me. And not in a way where it's like, here's when I'm available, here's when I'm not. Can we make this work? It's very, you know, like, clearly like, no, it's a hard no. But I'm like, you just spent the last 4 years bugging me about when. It's now.
Well, I think that must be like a human nature thing though, because I feel like I come across that in like all aspects, not just film, but even like the commercial, you know, corporate side of things that I do. Yeah. It's like they want it now, and if you don't get it to them right now, then later when you're like, okay, let's do this, they're like, well, no, because, you know, unless it really affects them or is like a passion project for them, I don't think they're ever, you know, there's a few select people that will drop things and do it, and those are people that you remember constantly for the next one. And not saying that you completely write everybody off, you know, but
people
too late.
Yeah, I see that happening a lot to me and to everybody else. It just, people, they want to be available, and then if it really doesn't benefit them in certain ways, then, you know, they're just gonna, it's easy for them to drop out.
Yeah.
And not think about the consequences later of like, well, I don't know, I asked you last time and you weren't very admittable, so.
Right. You were gonna say something, Katelynn?
I was just agreeing, I think, with the people.
She's learning. Yeah. Good job.
Yeah. I'm agreeing. I'm just smiling, nodding.
That's perfect, because I did just process your payroll, so.
Oh, thank you.
No, but it's, I was getting annoyed last week beforehand, but then, with the movie stuff, but then it just started, it was like a heightened, it was like a concentrated version of that at Frightmare. Mm-hmm. And to their credit, like none of, what did you say? Did you say this on the podcast? We talked about my Registering Bitchface.
Oh,
or were we off?
We were talking about, I don't know if it was on the podcast. I think it was here.
Oh, wait, hold that thought. There we go. Okay.
I think something about maybe you weren't approachable or something.
Yeah, that was it.
It was like, did you have
it was
a
potential actor that you're going to be working with.
Okay.
That in the past wasn't so buddy with you.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes, yeah, okay. Now it's all coming back to me. Okay.
I was like, did they actually not like you, or did you have your... Because I thought Mel hated me for, I don't know, a while.
I remember you used to always come up and ask me, are you okay?
Yeah.
And Mel hates
and I would be like, Melanie, what this chick, she keeps asking me if I'm okay. Like, what's...
No, because we'd work at the escape room, and I didn't know if I was just doing something wrong, or if I came off as weird, or I don't know what. And then I read one of your scripts that kind of explained your life story. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. She was like, oh my God. It was, it's in between it, I think. Yeah. She was like, is this what it's like for you every day? I'm like, yeah. And that's like a sanitized, like, streamlined version of it.
She didn't understand you're guilty until proven innocent.
Right. Exactly.
That everybody has to go through.
Right. But yeah, like, to that end, I was like I said, I would expect them to read my demeanor, but my demeanor is that way all the time, probably. So
it was hard for a while.
I think everybody was like, the only time I've ever seen a smile on your face is that picture of you with Robert Englund, which is probably not far from the truth. But so of course, I'm putting it on them to like figure it out, but people aren't psychic, of course, and they know none of this really, except for what maybe I told them right then, or maybe I complained about. So it's not up to them to figure it out. But I'm just like, don't push it so hard. You know what I mean? Like if past the initial push, you should probably realize there's something else going on. Like knowing the history of everything.
Yeah.
So anyway. That's my life.
Agreed.
Am I really that unapproachable?
Sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes. I mean,
I want you to unpack that for me.
It's just your face.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
can you do like what expression do I have on it?
You just. So sometimes you're just. I think like when I see it now, I think it's just when you're very. In thought about something, because I don't really see you at work much anymore, the other work. Mm-hmm. So you're just like when you came in today, I thought you were a little sad. But I think you were just trying to get things together. But your eyes are kind of just, you don't look at someone, you're not smiling, your head's a little tilted down, and you're just gruff, and your demeanor.
Story checks out.
She can say this because you already processed the payroll. So.
Yeah, right. No, it's fine. Katelyn's here I'm paying her to be my buffer. I mean, you go out there and talk to these people.
I'll do whatever you need me to do.
The face of Upstart Filmworks.
Yeah, the non-resting bitch face of Upstart Filmworks.
I'm either not that observant, or just the fact that in how I met you, I was so... I don't even know how to describe the state I was in when I met you.
Have you told that story on the podcast?
I think I did. There's no way that we've done this podcast as many times.
Yeah, we couldn't.
But just in general on the set, the Charlie Foxtrot of a set, as I like to say, that I met you on, I don't think I had slept for like 4 straight days, so I really didn't care what you looked like. It was just like, hey, you want to take a camera and go do like a kill scene or something? That'd be cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think it's because with the acting stuff, I've studied body language a lot, so I pick up on it pretty quick. So I can tell immediately if something's like, usually, maybe not all the time, but I notice little things, and I feel like that's why I was especially thought, you know.
She saw your aura. Yeah. And it was dark. Yeah. Ultimately.
You're like, I've never seen one that's jet black. Right. Jet black with like exclamation points in it.
Little asterisk.
Yeah, middle fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. That's
it's okay.
That's just blame my parents. That's what it started. But I'm trying to get better. You know what? What's actually mellowed me out a lot is being a dad, because you can't.
Yeah.
Whether it's me tapping into genuine happiness or me putting on a mask when I'm totally just depressed, you have to present that to your kid. You know what I mean? Because they'll they know. Absorb and then reflect whatever you give them. So I can't, as of right now, like when she gets a little bit older, I can't wait to be able to like genuinely bitch to her about stuff. Like, Reagan, I can't believe what this motherfucker did to me. And she'll be like, Dad, was it your resting bitch face? I'm like, you've been talking to your Aunt Katelynn again, clearly. So, but I feel better.
That's good.
Glad I kind of got it out there. And again, it's a lot of it probably won't even matter in the long run. I mean, the stuff that matters was good. Mm-hmm. I just have to get over it, because if I really take like a macro look at it all over the last 12, 15 years that I've been doing this, like I would get annoyed about different people, back in the early years, and those people are not even around now. So who knows? And I mean, I disliked Debbie Rashawn greatly at that time.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? Things just changed so much, and for no reason really other than I had an idea of what she was about. And then I got to know her, and of course none of that was really true. So you never know what's real and what's not, and mind plays tricks on you. So
it does. I overthink everything.
Yeah, it's a story of my life.
Yeah. I actually had someone tell me recently they thought I hated them because I do this thing, I guess.
Was it your resting bitch face?
Yeah, kind of. I guess when we're in like my group of friends, when we're in like a big group together, sometimes when someone's just talking, I just space out, and apparently I just have a face, and I kind of just do this, and I didn't know. And I just saw her, the girl that thought I hated her yesterday, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't hate you at all. I just apparently just spaced out and no one told me.
So she asked somebody and you heard from that person?
Yeah, well, so she's getting married recently, or soon, I guess, and not recently. And Jordan was telling me, like, this person thinks you hate them, and I'm like, why? Because I barely see them, and he's like, you just... Sometimes when we're in groups, you just space out, and you just have this look on your face. I'm like, how long have I been doing this? And he's like, forever.
So you don't hate this person, you just find them boring.
No,
so you just space out all the time.
Sometimes I'll be like, and I know what they're talking about, because I'll just be thinking about things I can do in projects. I don't know, maybe you do this too, but I'll just have ideas, and they'll just come up, and then I'll start thinking about them, and I just forget that we're in a group setting because I'm so ingrained on this idea, and I'm working with it, and I'm like thinking of what I can do, and then I'm like, I need to listen and pay attention because someone's talking. I don't want to be rude, and then I snap back into it, but I didn't think anyone noticed that.
Yeah.
And apparently they did, so sorry everyone I've ever done that to.
You know what, to make this dark again, because it can never not be, the best thing, the flip side of that, like one of the best things in the world, is if someone trying to clear the air with you or whatever, or maybe expecting a different answer, comes up to you and asks if you have a problem with them, or if you hate them, and you can actually answer in the affirmative. It's the fucking best.
Nice.
I thought it was going to happen this weekend. It didn't happen this year at Frightmare, but it's happened at Frightmare a couple times, and I'd be like, yeah, and this is why. It happened at Comic Palooza. There was a year where it was like 5 people at Comic Palooza. And I was like, yeah, here's why. Yeah, here's why. It was great. And each time I felt like, shoo, like I was getting rid of another, like like thing that had just been holding me down, right?
I'm adding this to my bucket list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to all the people.
Yeah, and in every case, they just kind of go, okay, yeah. Like they don't really, nobody's ever argued. And there was, I wish this had happened. Like I put the call out a while ago, because there's still some of that floating around. I was like, hey man, if any of you guys, still want to talk this out, let's do it on the podcast, Maybe it's a Debbie. Most cases it's not. I know I'm not mistaken about these people and what they did, but who knows? Maybe there's something that's changed, or they, you know what I mean? Things feel.
You've always left that open-ended for anyone to come on and
they still can. They absolutely still can.
I think that's a bad idea.
Why?
People are crazy, Mel.
I mean, you think that I'm not after all this?
Yes, Katelynn. Yes, they are.
You're like a safe kind of crazy.
Brittany had helped me in her eyes. Yeah, but I'm not. These people aren't that dangerous like that. I don't think so. Anybody that I would think would. I mean, there's a couple people that I would legitimately put on that might try to stab me list.
Maybe you don't have them.
But they're not who I'm talking about. They would never approach me like that anyway. These are, other people, but I don't think it would be an issue, and I think it'd be actually really, really interesting podcast. But the problem is, like, I don't think there's. I mean, I know it's easy to take your own side, but I don't really think there's anything I'm misunderstanding about. It's very cut and dried.
Right.
What went down and what led from that. But I still would. It'd be interesting to hear their side of it, at the very least. But regardless, it feels great to tell them, they suck to their face, and why you think they suck. It feels fabulous.
I'm jealous of this feeling.
To be honest, I was hoping it would happen this weekend, but everybody that would have happened with looked at me, turned around, and went the other way. So great, even better. I didn't have to expend energy on it. So.
I don't know, the feeling you've described though, in telling someone seems like it'd be totally worth the confrontation.
It's the closest thing to pure joy. Like I actually, how people avoid confrontation. I've learned that it's kind of like a drug to me, in the right situation. Mm-hmm. I get tingling in the knees.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've ever been in like a physical fight, but it's that same feeling.
Yeah,
it's that same feeling, and then but. I always feel, because it's not like I'm not carrying shit around. You know what I mean? I'm like, we know exactly what's going on between us. There's no just like assuming, so it feels great. It's like a weight's lifted off. So I highly recommend it.
All right.
I prescribe 2 fuck-offs.
Just 2?
Well, okay. Take those and then we'll see how we do.
Start small.
Yeah. What were you going to say? I feel like you had...
Oh, I was saying you can practice on me if you want to.
Oh, no.
You can tell me to fuck off if you want to.
No, these people in my mind, it would be hard to just end with a fuck off. It's that much hatred. So...
Oh, yeah? You're talking about killing people?
About who?
Killing people?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if you got one for free...
just one?
That's what I'm saying. I got a couple. It'd be hard to choose.
People have often wondered if I had a list and who was on it.
Yeah.
There's one. It's on Google Drive, actually. Just in case.
Google knows.
Google knows.
Google knows it.
It's named People I Would Love to Hug. Anybody that knows me knows that that's a total shame. Yeah. Not the hugging kind.
There are times when I'll, like, with the people that there are not many people I really just hate, but there's a few, and I'll sometimes, if I'm really angry, I'll remember something that's happened from the specific scenario in the past, and I'll get angry about it, and I'll tell them off in my head, and that feels nice, but in real life, I feel like I would just get too much anxiety.
Yeah.
I hate any sort of confrontation. Even if I'm not in the wrong, I just feel like it's going to turn around on me, and I'm going to look like the bad guy.
Yeah, you do run that risk, like, of looking like the asshole. I've had that happen a couple times, if more than a couple times. But, still feels good later.
Yeah.
Still feels good later. On the to make things a little more positive, like sort of a corollary to that is like sometimes there are people that, like I guess with time or whatever, I've found that lately I've kind of come around on some things and not, well, I wouldn't want to hang out with these people again. Like I've gotten pretty close to reaching out and been like, hey, I know things got fucked for a while. From here on out, I don't really care. Like I don't want to be your buddy, but don't worry about if
just dropping it.
Yeah, that I'm gonna punch you in the face out of nowhere or whatever. You know, just because it's just not worth it. You know, it's too much energy. But and there are things that I never thought. I call them my Eagles moments because you know, like when the Eagles broke up, they like when they broke up the first time. They were like cursing each other out on stage between songs and telling each other they're going to kick each other's ass, and like they get back together when Hell Freezes Over, and then they 30 years later they did the Hell Freezes Over tour. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, money, be it money or whatever, just 30 years of time, you know.
Yeah.
With time, some things can be mended, I guess. But I call them my Eagles moments. So like, yeah, I've had a couple of Eagles type. I've never acted on them.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I've tried. There's been a couple times.
Yeah, sometimes it'll come back and burn you.
Yeah, well, because, you know, I don't want to spend any time or energy on that type of hatred, and so I'm like, okay, well, let me see what good came from this, and I'll name all the good things, and I'm like,
yeah, so you actually do
person,
like a pros and cons type thing.
Yeah, you know, and I know the pros that come from it. Like I know that there are pros that have come from all these different situations. And I'm grateful for that. It just still doesn't allow me to forgive actions from these people. So I can't.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is some people feel like they've bought like asshole credit, like where they feel like they've done like, oh, I did this for you, so I get one free fuck over. Oh. You know what I mean? Like they feel like stuff equals out. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? But it's amazing how many people think in those terms.
Oh, weird.
You know? And I'm like, no, that doesn't. I hate my parents. You know what I mean? And they clothed and fed me sporadically, but it happened. You know what I mean? But it just because they did that doesn't like let me give them a pass for all the other fucked up shit they did. You know?
Yeah.
So, but it's weird how many people like approach it that way. I've got emails that are hilarious to read because it's like they point by point go through like when I did this for you and I did that for you and you should let me slide on them. Like, why are you kidding me? Yeah.
But if they're going to the extent of saying like, look at all these good things I did for you, please forgive this one, then you know that they know that they still shouldn't have done it.
Just to do that at all, terrible person.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I even talking to you? No. I've known some excuse me, I've known some characters in my life, Katelynn.
I believe it.
Yeah. They've all made their way into a movie one way or another, or are about to make their way into a movie, so they get immortalized and then immediately recognize themselves and then get pissed off, wondering how I could make fun of them, but I never named them the same thing, so I'm like, well,
the
clearly,
shoe fits.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
If you're gonna be a crappy person, I don't want to give this a shot.
No product
placement. Sponsored.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be a crappy person, you can't be mad when you get called out. At least.
Right. Own your crappiness.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna, I guess, don't be a crappy person.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be, regardless.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say.
Anything to add, Brittany?
No.
Still thinking about the freebie.
I may need to go box later. I don't know.
Yeah, it's right up the road. I really want to know who this person is.
Oh, you know.
It's who I think it is.
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Okay. All right.
Easily.
Gotcha.
That's how long I can hold on to.
No, dude, I understand. I understand. If anybody can hold a grudge, it's this guy. But I'm trying to turn the negatives into a positive. I'm trying to put all that. Oh, this is another thing I was going to bring up. See, more positive. Let's see if you guys can help me workshop this. So, because of all that, I've been toying with the idea of, and I guess this is me talking about the movie a little more than I'd like, but it's fine. We're about to shoot it, so. But I've been toying with the idea of, for those of you, I mean, you guys have read the in-betweening scripts, so you know that it's clearly me. Like, it's clearly an autobiographical thing, but it's not me. But I've been toying with the idea of putting myself in the movie, like, maybe even like tagging out with Omar and like shooting some stuff on like against a green screen or whatever, and just sort of setting down, like doing a master class kind of like setup, but like where I'm just like in, not just in this happened, but just sort of just like speaking straight to the camera, testimonials, so just kind of like unloading, not really indicting anybody, but there's just a lot of stuff that I think I need to and want to get out that isn't served by the script, or if I put it in the script, it would just seem like too much.
Yeah, kind of like a commentary, like a director's commentary.
Kind of, but like one that's in there.
Oh, okay.
You know, and but also done in such a way that if it became too much, we could pull out of the movie in the edit. Mm-hmm. Or if you wanted to watch it that way, you could choose, like watch it without Mel's stupid ass. You know, just skip it.
That's how it needs to be in the menu.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But I thought of it one day, and I was like, okay. That might be interesting. And then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, and I could say then this would work here. And a lot of it would, like, the transitions would be kind of funny or hilarious or would stop. This is a terrible comparison, but like, you know when Zach Morris would freeze time and talk to the camera? Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell?
What? No.
Yeah, well, yeah, I could see why not, but I'm actually surprised that you know what I'm talking about.
Me?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, I used to watch Saved by the Bell. It was on like Nick at Night or something, every night.
Yeah. But kind of like that kind of thing, but like as an angry black man.
No.
Black Morris.
It was reminding me a little bit more of like on Family Guy when they do their cutaways.
Yeah.
Right.
There's like a lot of cutaways.
Kind of that. Or there's a couple more like good examples I was thinking of and ways to make it work, but what I'm afraid of is it'd have to be done in such a way as to not derail your investment in the actual story on the screen. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because, so an example I can think of that does something like that, not the exact same thing, but something that plays their hand pretty well, that doesn't ruin it. The most recent example I could think of was the Lego Movie. Because you guys have both seen it.
No, I didn't see it.
So
who are you?
I've been busy.
It's a very positive movie, Katelynn. I figured you would have seen that one.
So
I still haven't even seen Shazam, or I still been.
The Lego movie is like old.
Lego movie is like
I worked
5 years old.
So here's the context in which I saw the Lego movie. I had just gone to my interview at the pizza restaurant, and I was super depressed. I was like, I'm gonna fucking be a pizza delivery driver. But there is no, I have to do it. There's no other way I can make the money. So it's right by Memorial City Mall. So I was like, I'll go see a movie. Fuck it, let me just go. I don't even want to. At the time, I didn't even want to necessarily see the Lego movie, but it seemed like the best thing to see at the time. I was like, this will be relatively upbeat, might make me laugh. I ended up bawling like a baby, like, but like out of context.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh my God, Batman! Or, like just weird shit that was triggering crazy like nostalgia synapses in my head. But do you care if I spoil a huge part of the movie?
It's fine.
So pretty early on, you find out that the story that's playing out is basically via like Will Ferrell's the dad. And he has this big Lego collection in his basement, and he'll make the shit, buy the instructions, and then glue everything down with crazy glue so the kids can't mess it up. So the whole point is like he's taking the fun out of it because
it's permanent.
He's being so rigid about it, and his kid is trying to play, but he'll break something, get yelled at or whatever. But they do that cut probably 25 minutes into the movie, so then you're like, oh well. Everything that's the Lego movie is fantasy, you know what I mean? But it doesn't. But it doesn't ruin the movie,
right?
Or him being the bad guy, because of that he voices the main Lego bad guy too, right? And it all is then painted with this brush of what he's doing.
It's actually really clever.
Yeah, and they do it in a way that, like I said, doesn't ruin your investment in the characters and the rest of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, like you have to stick the landing like that. Because otherwise, then it's be like, okay, I'm just watching this dramatization of what you just talked about. I'm just trying to sort of get my head around it.
I think if you just like here and there put in your 2 cents, it wouldn't ruin it. And I think it's not many movies do that. I don't.
Well, in the Lego movie, they kind of just do it at the beginning and then not again until like the end.
Yeah, they kind of you forget about it almost. I think that might be the key. And they, to a way lesser degree, did you guys see I, Tonya? The Tonya Harding movie? They kind of do it in that, but it's the characters in the movie. Like they'll speak to the camera. Like when she's working out with bags of dog food or whatever, Allison Janney's like, she really did this shit. You know, like shit like that. Kind of funny.
The only thing I can think of is The Emperor's New Groove with when Kuzco's the llama.
I can't wait to hear this.
No, there's just the only I don't remember.
Hold on, let me get the camera on you.
I don't remember if he does it more than once, but there's one scene where like it stops and it gets kind of like sepia toned or something, and he's markering things, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, this is me. This is why I'm a llama now," and it just goes into that.
Yeah, it goes from like a movie to almost like a projection.
Yeah,
and he kind of like walks in and marks on it, and then leaves, and it goes back to movie.
Right, right. Yeah, I was thinking about putting some stuff like that because there are things that I feel like would be richer if they got more backstory, but not in a way to where it was backstory in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like maybe I did like a John Madden play-by-play, like, these are the fucking assholes that did this, and then, you know what I mean?
Have like a PowerPoint projection from the 90s.
Right.
Yes.
We have a flat top. That would actually be really funny.
You could... Depending on where the story's at, you can change your appearance.
Yeah.
Like, this is from when I was this age. And,
right. Yeah. I'll do the frosted tips again and have like a little...
Please.
Like the won't grow out all the way mustache.
That's patchy.
Yeah. Someone's on their way. But they may be a few minutes late. Not looking good for you, person. So what the listeners might not know... Well, they won't know at all because I haven't mentioned anything to them about it. But we will hopefully, we'll see if it works out, be interviewing a crew member, potential crew member, live on the podcast. So you'll get to see the inner workings of how I bring people, how I onboard people, my onboarding process. Can you do that look again for the camera? Do you remember what your interview consisted of, Katelynn?
For working with you?
Yeah.
I think you just...
I want you to do it, but I want you to do an impression of me saying the things I said to you.
I don't remember it. I think you just kind of asked me, like, are you available these times? Do you know how to work?
Do you? It sounds like I'm an alien.
Do you know how to work?
No, what was the program?
I would like one of hamburger, please.
What's the program you had me try to learn? Adobe?
Premiere? Well, you did start, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're like, it would be like this. I don't care what hours you work as long as you do this. It was just, you were really chill about it. I really don't remember an interview. I remember Andy interviewing me.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I think we just talked about hypotheticals. And I was kind of like, yeah, that sounds good. And you're like, okay, I'll let you know. And that was kind of it.
What she's leaving out is the many hours that I watched her from afar and interviewed her about. It's like, how is she going to handle this situation?
I remember, and I didn't know if this made you, like, really cemented in your mind that you wanted me as your assistant, but I started doing tap lessons, and I bought shoes.
I can assure you it wasn't that.
Well, you were very, like, you're like, oh, you're committed, because I bought the shoes, and just the way you said it, I was like, yeah, like...
You said it was some kind of inflection.
Yeah,
which was...
that was me putting on my Ted Bundy mask so that I thought I cared.
And I was like, does that make me look like I'm a good worker? Because I'm committed to it?
No, I was genuinely commenting on, oh, yeah, you're really into this.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry it came across as fake.
It's not. No, it wasn't fake. I didn't.
She didn't know it was fake until you just said it was fake.
Because
I said came across as. It wasn't fake.
I was just like right before. I think right before we either talked about me working for you or something to do. It connected in my mind for some reason. So I'm like, oh, maybe that just made me seem like a really good worker. I don't know.
You know, I wasn't sure about this, Kate, but she brought in these tap shoes, and it's like, this is the one. I like this girl. She's got moxie.
Moxie. Yeah.
Definitely moxie is the term you would use if it was tap shoe related. That's an interesting, funny moment though, because I didn't remember that until you said it.
I was surprised at your level of like enthusiasm, I guess, and that's why it stood out.
Maybe it was one of my manic days.
Was that Cypher? Maybe you were just at Cypher.
Yeah, who knows? So up and down.
How is the tap dancing coming?
Slow, but it's good. It's hard. I get a little better every time I do it. I was doing a class. It was like a couple month long class once a week, and at the time I was just doing too much, so I had to stop. But I started taking private lessons, and I started doing ballet as well. And I really like ballet. It's fun, and it's really hard. I use so many butt muscles I've never used before.
Yeah.
But it is fun, and it's fun to get better a little bit seeing the progress, and like it counts, and learning things. My teacher's very nice.
Yeah.
So that helps too.
So putting in work and then having it actually matter.
Yes.
I don't know what that feels like.
Yes, you do.
I'm just kidding. I just had to darken our day. So what... Let me try to think of a way that doesn't sound nihilistic to say this. I'm just going to say it. What's your end game with the dance stuff? Is that something you want to pursue for a while, or is it just something you want to check out for a little bit to sort of have it in your bag of tricks for casting?
I was thinking about that, actually. I want to get to a point where I'm good at it, but... Okay, so, like, with my acting, I feel like I'm at a really good level with my acting, and my singing's not far behind. Like, if I go to an audition, I can confidently act and sing and have it sound and look and appear maybe not professional, but it's close to it. I can't dance. I've not really taken many dancing classes. I took some dance when I was 5, but I didn't know what I was doing, so I don't count that, because I was 5. But I want to get to the point where if I'm in an audition, if it's like a dance specifically audition, I can do it and be confident and be impressive enough to potentially get a part. So I want to build on it until it's to that point, and then still train, because you still have to continuously train no matter what level you're at. But then I can kind of back off of it a little bit. And I'm really honestly not doing it as much as I'd like to. I'm doing it like once every 2 weeks, one class every 2 weeks for an hour. So it's not as much as I'd like to do, but with my schedule right now, that's all I can really do.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I'm going to keep doing it until I get to that, I guess, professional level, or close to it, and then ease off of it for a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I feel like I should write some dancing into your role for...
Yeah, please do.
In-betweening.
I don't know what you could do with that role, but...
I'm sure I could think of something, and it'd be funny to see Bart have to keep up with you.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. But there definitely is a musical number, so I was actually writing this song yesterday. That was one thing I was able to do while reclaiming my weekend, so I think I got the chorus written, so we'll see. I keep it's kind of like working on the movie. Like when I take too much time away from it, I go back to it. I can't remember where it was, and then all the time that I've found to work on it, I spend trying to remember where it was, because I could only do it in chunks. It's the same with writing that damn song. I've been trying to write the song for probably a year.
Jeez.
And then I'll write and I'll record, so I'll remember that. I'm like, oh no, I don't. How is that going to work? So it's the same thing, but I'm trying to garner more time. Because I think it's going to be really fun. That's going to be a really fun part of the movie. And if nothing else, that's something I can do that most of these other idiots can't do. Ha ha ha.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, what else, guys? Anything else?
I didn't really do anything super memorable this weekend. I pet your cat, and that was nice.
Yeah. It's not a euphemism. She really
No,
did.
oh my god.
Just to make sure.
No.
To put that disclaimer up on screen.
You're right.
I have a bad habit of doing that. I'll say something and I mean it in a completely innocent way, but it doesn't come out that way.
Yeah. What about you, Brittany? Have you been doing much more work on the doc?
I've been trying. I've decided, I guess I haven't decided anything, but I've been trying to, write the script for that Kickstarter video that you and I talked about.
Yeah.
And I've kind of realized that it's not my strong suit to really write, in like a deep philosophical manner. I've not really stretched that writing muscle. So it's been interesting. Like, I've been trying to get inspiration, but I don't know, it's hard. So.
Have you thought about, like, hiring a writer just to do that a little bit?
Yeah, I don't really know where, I guess, to go in that direction. Like, I have a couple people I know that they write and they get hired, in editing and consulting. So I guess I could, try to bring them in, but this is such a passion project for me that it's hard for me to think that I can go that route, because I feel like, are they going to be able to tell, my story, or be able to tell, like, what I really want to portray, because I've never hired a writer.
Yeah, so that's the trick, is finding somebody like you vibe with, that's almost like the other part of your brain to get it. But it's tough, but it can be done.
Yeah.
I have a couple people I might be able to suggest.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Yeah, because this, I think it would be just a really cool initial, intriguing trailer. So in a way, I'm not putting too much pressure on it, although I think it should be good, but obviously.
Obviously.
But there's a kind of artistic section to the film that I can see visually, like, very clearly.
Is it me in a studio against a green screen, just like talking to the camera?
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Like, hey, people are sick. Fuck off.
Yes, that's exactly it.
That'll be $500.
There you go. Done. Okay, see, that was easy. But visually I can see it, and I know the message that I want to get across, but there is a lot of dialogue. And dialogue's always been hard for me. I can write, dramatic action and description and stuff all day long. Dialogue has always been really difficult, and this is just solid dialogue. So that I feel like I'm going to have to bring someone in that can really... that I can tell the story to, of what I want to get across, and hopefully they can do that. So I have a lot of inspirational... did you ever see Beasts of the Southern Wild?
Yeah.
So the trailer for that, I saw the movie was good, but the trailer for that, because it has a little girl, because the artistic section of mine deals with a child, and I kept thinking I had to write it in, like, a child form, like a child's voice. And so I kept having to, like, dumb down these ideas to try to make it sound like what a child would say. And I watched that trailer recently, and it's almost the exact opposite. Like, it's this little girl who is saying profound things, and just the effect of it, I loved it. I love it. And so it made me rethink, like, okay, no, I need to write this more profound.
Yeah.
But it's, like I said, it's just such a different way of writing that, it'd be nice to at least be coached, or at least to write something and say, like, is this anywhere close? And if it's not, then I'd probably pass it off to someone who can really write it.
Right.
So.
Would you mind if I take a look at it?
Sure, yeah.
I used to write a lot when I was younger. I'm not a professional, but...
Yeah, no, I mean... This is a pretty collaborative film. Like, it's interesting for me to say, because I have a very strong direction that I want to go, but at the same time I'm really open to, if the story goes one way, or, if someone thinks that there's a better idea or more creative or a deeper thought, because the point is that I want everybody to be able to relate to it. So I feel like if it's just what I want, then it's going to be really difficult for someone else who maybe doesn't have the backstory that I do to relate to it. So, I mean, that's kind of, I've told Mel that, but definitely feel free to anything that I send to to give me feedback on, or if you have suggestions or want to take a stab at it, I'm totally up for that. So
sure.
Yeah.
I feel like if I were to take a look at it, it'd come back to you with, even though I talk all this crap about I'm not into horror so much anymore, it'd be like, and then a monster emerged from the darkness.
But there is a section that I needed to be dark. Like there's 5 sections, and there is one particular section.
That was real. See the little glimmer in my eye?
Yeah, I did.
Describe it, Katelynn.
You got a look like, I know that. I can do that. Let me do it.
Darkness, I got.
Yeah, I got it.
I got
it. Really inspired.
Yeah.
Really
metaphorically and physically.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's... first, of course, anything I'll take a look at, but I always feel like I'm like, I can't write... Like, I definitely put myself in boxes as far as... I would never be able to write something like that. Not that I'm not into it, but I feel like it would always creep into...
that section, yeah.
Stephen King land, at the very least. You know, he can write non-horror stuff, but there's always that. I'm like, this is Stephen King. You know what I mean? Like, there's just, I'm like, what's going to happen on the next page?
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. So, but you never know until you try. I didn't think I'd be able to write comedy until I wrote placeholders. So.
Well, I was about to say that, because I had always said that comedy would be the one thing that I would not even attempt, because because I like different comedies, and comedy is hard because everybody has a different sense of humor, and you have to have, it has to be in the writing, it has to be in the acting, and it has to be in the editing. Like, all of it has to be on for it to be funny. And I had worked on so many comedy-like things that, it was funny to the people who worked on it because it was a lot of inside jokes, but for it to be funny, to anyone else, it was difficult. So I was like, I'll just never do comedy, like, just staying away from it. And then Mel was like, hey, do you want to write an episode of Placeholders? And I was like,
I guess.
Yeah, but I have no idea what I'm going to do. So that was a stretch.
Yeah, and that was... Like everything, it was a test. I was like, let's see how she does.
He'll do that to me sometimes. He'll ask me to do something or ask me something. He'll be, this was a test. And then I get like, oh no.
Yeah.
What was it that you did recently and you thought was a test? And I was like, oh man, I wish I had thought to make that a test.
You asked me, I think I had to like reach out to somebody or send an email or something. And you asked me about it. I'm like, I did this. Like, everything you asked, this is what I did. And you're like, it wasn't a test. It's okay. Something like that. Jordan will do that to me, too. Jordan's my friend. I'll be like, this is a test of our friendship. We were going in the movies once, and he's like, I need you to pick our seats while I get popcorn. And I was like, okay. And he's like, where do I like to sit, Katelynn? And I was like, suddenly something that had didn't bother me at all. I was like, oh god, if I don't do this right, it's the end of everything. Being put on the spot so quick.
Yeah. Did you pick correctly?
Yeah. It's he likes to sit a little off center, in the middle, I think. Now I'm second guessing everything. But yeah.
If I told you to buy me movie tickets and you had to pick.
Not in the very front, because you would have to crane your neck.
Uh-huh. I bitched about that recently, didn't I? Because our Avenger seats were like that, and I feel like I complained about it recently.
I had to do that when I took Reagan out to see Missing Link. We had to be in the very front, so that's why I remembered, it actually wasn't that bad, though, because the chairs reclined. I would guess either in the middle or, on the top. In the middle. No?
Gun to your head. You have to pick one.
I would say aisle, so you can get out quickly if you need to.
Oh, that sounds
That's
good,
a reasonable guess.
Oh, God.
There are two answers that incorporate both.
I'm going to say either... Okay, so... One... Now I'm second guessing everything we've ever talked about.
This is a pretty intense test.
I know. I'm gonna make sure to ask the guy this question in the interview. It was a good interview question. I was gonna go with the whole if you could be any kind of tree, what tree would you be?
No,
because I've been listening to this. our friend, I say friend, I've never looked the guy in the eye, but I've gotten him gigs. He's replaced me on gigs that I couldn't take. I gave to him, but it's his assistant director I know. Keep thinking, Katelynn, I haven't forgotten. But he does a podcast where he talks to other people in the industry, and he was talking to the guy that directed. He was the assistant director on the last 2 Mission Impossibles. It's like big stuff, and they were just talking about hiring protocol, and the question he always asks, which he got from another big time assistant director. I think the guy that assistant directed Gandhi. He would always ask him, if you could be any kind of tree, what kind of tree would you be? And because they were like, I know you can do the job. You got this far and you're applying for it, so clearly you can do it and you want to do it. Because at that level, like, you don't make it that far on a recommendation if you don't know what you're doing. So he's like, I just want to see how you think. And what was weird is they were like, it sounded like a weird question. I'm going to get your reaction to me saying this too. It sounded like a weird question, but he would hire somebody, and then over the course of watching them on the movie, he's like, whatever tree they said, I saw those traits in him. And I was like, that's interesting. I'm going to see if that's true. So where would I set Katelynn?
I want to say in the middle, but for some reason I see you in the very top, in the center.